What if the greatest detective in Toronto, known for his sharp mind and unshakable logic, suddenly began to question everything he believed to be real? What if the clues he chased never existed at all? In this chilling chapter of Murdoch Mysteries, genius meets madness, and the truth begins to slip through the cracks of a brilliant mind losing control. Detective William Murdoch stands alone in the flickering glow of the gas lamps that line Station House No. 4. His desk is scattered with sketches, crime scene photos, and half-finished notes written in his precise, neat handwriting. But tonight, something feels different. The order that once ruled his mind is giving way to chaos. His hands tremble as he studies a photograph, one that, he swears, wasn't there before. It shows a woman's lifeless body lying in the snow behind a factory on King Street. The problem? That same woman had visited the station earlier that day, alive and well, Murdoch's eyes narrow, confusion rippling through his normally calm face. He reaches for the file, but it's gone. The photograph too vanished, as if it never existed. The station is silent except for the soft ticking of the wall clock. He can hear his own heartbeat louder than the clock's rhythm. For the first time in years, Detective Murdoch feels something unfamiliar fear. Not of crime, not of danger, but of his own mind. When Constable Crabtree enters with his usual cheerful energy, Murdoch startles. He quickly hides his unease behind a polite nod. "Sir, you all right?" Crabtree asks, noticing Murdoch's pale expression. "Quite fine, George," Murdoch replies, his voice steady but distant. "Just lost in thought." But even as he says it, he knows it's not true. Thoughts no longer feel like safe territory. They twist and fold upon themselves, revealing shadows that don't belong. Later that night, Murdoch walks to the supposed crime scene behind the factory. The cold air bites his skin as his lantern cuts through the darkness. There are faint footprints in the snow? A woman's shoe print leading toward the alley. He kneels to examine them, his detective's instincts kicking in. But when he looks up, the prints are gone. The snow is smooth and untouched, as if no one had ever walked there. His breath catches in his throat. He feels dizzy. In the distance, he hears a voice, a whisper, soft and sorrowful. "William." He spins around. No one. The factory windows are dark, the city silent. Murdoch grips his lantern tighter, forcing himself to breathe. "Logic," he mutters under his breath. Find the logic. The next morning, he arrives at the station before dawn. The photograph has returned right there on his desk again, exactly as before. The same woman. The same snow. But when he rushes to show Dr. Ogden, she looks at him with gentle concern. "William," she says softly, "there is no photograph." Murdoch stares at the empty space where it should be. His pulse quickens. He feels the ground beneath him shift, not literally, but in his perception. The firm line between reality and imagination begins to blur. As the day goes on, Murdoch tries to convince himself it's fatigue. He's worked long hours before, gone without sleep for days while solving cases. But deep down, a darker thought creeps in. What if this time the case he's trying to solve is his own sanity? The section ends with Murdoch standing at the window, watching the snow fall outside. The reflection in the glass looks back at him, but something's wrong. The reflection smiles. And he does single quotes D. The next morning, Toronto feels colder, quieter, like the city itself is holding its breath. Detective Murdoch walks down King Street with a notebook in one hand and a restless mind in the other. The sun hides behind thick clouds, painting everything in shades of gray. He can't stop thinking about the woman in the snow, the one from the photograph that vanished, returned, and vanished again. He knows what he saw. He always knows. But this time, doubt clings to him like fog. At the crime scene, he searches for evidence again. Every instinct screams that something happened here. The faint outline of footprints, a broken button, a smear of crimson on the icy wall signs only a detective like Murdoch would notice. He sketches the scene in his notebook carefully, labeling every trace. Yet when he turns back to check, the stains are gone. The snow is pure, untouched. The wall clean. As if his mind had drawn the clues, not his eyes. Dr. Ogden arrives, her face marked with concern. William, perhaps you're overexerting yourself, she says softly, brushing frost from her coat. You've been working too long without rest. He shakes his head, refusing the comfort. Julia, evidence doesn't vanish into thin air. Someone is tampering with the scene, or with me. She studies him, sadness flickering in her eyes. You're chasing ghosts, she whispers. Murdoch doesn't respond. Ghosts or not, he must find the truth. Back at the station, he gathers his team Crabtree, Brackenride, and Watts. He lays out his notes, pointing to sketches and theories that grow more desperate with each page. Gentlemen, he begins, we're dealing with a case of impossible precision. The crime cleans itself. The clues erase themselves. Crabtree exchanges an uneasy glance with Watts. Sir, forgive me, but are you certain the crime even happened? The room falls silent. Brackenride clears his throat, his usual gruff voice softer now. Murdoch, you've cracked harder cases than any man I know. But maybe, just maybe, this one's not what it seems. Murdoch's jaw tightens. Meaning? Brackenride sighs. Meaning, perhaps there's no case to solve. That night, Murdoch can't sleep. His mind replays every detail, every whisper, every flicker of memory. The woman's face haunts him, her eyes wide open, her lips frozen in a silent cry. He rises, lights a candle, and studies his notes again. But his handwriting, once so steady, is now crooked, uneven, desperate. He stares at the page. The ink bleeds. The letters shift. For a moment, they form words he didn't write. You did this, William. He steps back, heart pounding. The flame flickers violently, then dies. In the dark, he hears movement, a soft footstep, a creak of floorboards. He calls out, "Who's there?" But silence answers. When he turns, the photograph is back on his desk again, edges damp as if touched by snow. He lifts it slowly. The woman's eyes seem to move. She's looking at him. Murdoch's breath catches. The world around him feels paper-thin, ready to tear. He rushes to the morgue, searching through records, trying to find her name, her file, any proof that she existed. But every drawer he opens is empty. Every report missing. Ogden finds him there, trembling, surrounded by open cabinets. William, she says gently, there was never a victim. You've been working a case that doesn't exist? He looks up at her, confusion and terror mixing in his eyes. Then whose blood was on the wall? She hesitates. There was no blood? The silence that follows is unbearable. For the first time in his career, Murdoch has no answer, no evidence. No reason left to trust himself. He leaves the morgue and walks into the night. Snow falls again, soft and endless. Each flake lands and disappears just like his clues. Just like his certainty. As he vanishes into the fog, his whisper floats behind him. Truth doesn't vanish, unless it never existed. The snow has stopped, but the silence it leaves behind is heavier than any storm. Detective Murdoch sits in his dimly lit office, his eyes fixed on a wall of evidence that no longer exists. Empty pins where photographs once hung, strings cut and dangling like veins. His mind races in circles, trying to reconstruct what's been erased. Every detail he remembers feels both real and impossible. Every face he recalls fades as he tries to grasp it. A sharp knock echoes through the room. Inspector Brackenride steps in, his expression caught between concern and frustration. Murdoch, he says gruffly, you've been at this for days. There's no case, no witnesses, no victim. Go home, man. Get some rest. Murdoch doesn't look up. Rest? You'd ask a man to rest while the truth is slipping through his fingers? Brackenride sighs. The truth, William, is that you're chasing shadows. The word shadows lingers, echoing in Murdoch's mind like a curse. That night he dreams of them long, twisting figures moving through his lab, touching his inventions, whispering his name. When he wakes, his inventions are on, humming quietly in the darkness. As if they've been watching him, he rushes to his work table, inspecting his devices, the electrostatic sensor, the phonographic analyzer, the experimental recorder, all running, all recording. He replays the latest audio. Static fills the air, then a faint voice, his own. You shouldn't have looked, it whispers. You made her up? Murdoch's hands tremble as he slams the switch off. The silence that follows is suffocating. He whispers to himself, "Logic, William. Use logic?" But the words sound empty now, like a prayer with no faith left behind it. Later, he visits Dr. Ogden. She greets him with a worried smile, her voice soft. "You're not well, William. You need to rest your mind before it consumes you." He stares at her, eyes dark and tired. "Julia, do you believe I could imagine an entire murder? Fabricate evidence? See what isn't there?" She hesitates, and that pause wounds him more than any accusation could. "Sometimes," she says, "the mind creates what the heart cannot bear." Her words echo long after he leaves. Could it be true? Could his own brilliance have turned against him? That evening, as the clock strikes midnight, Murdoch stands in the interrogation room. Across from him sits the man he believes to be the killer, a shadowed figure in a dark suit. "I know you," Murdoch says, voice trembling. "You were there that night." The man smiles faintly. "Was I, detective? Or did you need me to be?" Murdoch frowns, leaning closer. "You confessed in my dream," he mutters. The man laughs softly. "Then you already know who I am?" Murdoch slams his fist on the table. "Tell me your name." The man leans forward, his eyes glinting. "You already know, William, because I'm you." The words hang in the air like smoke. Murdoch's heart pounds. He blinks, and the chair across from him is empty. No man, no suspect, just his own reflection in the glass staring back at him. Eyes filled with doubt, he stumbles backward, clutching his head. The walls feel too close, the air too thin. He can hear whispers, his own voice, multiplied, repeating the same line over and over. "You created the crime." Murdoch collapses to his knees. His mind fractures like glass. Images flash, faces of people he's saved, criminals he's caught, and that woman in the snow. Was she ever real? Or just a piece of his guilt made flesh? The next morning, the constables find him sitting motionless in his office, staring at nothing. His notebook lies open before him, filled with hundreds of pages of looping words. Truth, illusion, truth, illusion. When Dr. Ogden enters, he doesn't turn to her. He simply says, in a voice hollow and fragile, "Julia, what if I'm not the detective?" "But the case?" Her eyes fill with tears. The genius mind that once brought justice to hundreds now stands on the edge of collapse, his own logic devouring him from within. The scene fades with Murdoch's whisper. Trembling yet resolute. "Perhaps the real mystery isn't who committed the crime, but who I've become trying to solve it." Fade to black, a cold morning light seeps through the blinds of a room Murdoch doesn't recognize. The air smells of antiseptic and linen. Not the familiar wood and polish of station house, no, he tries to move, but his hands are bound gently by leather straps. His head feels heavy, his thoughts slow, as if his mind is wading through fog. A faint hum of voices echoes from the hallway. Somewhere a clock ticks, steady and cruel. He looks down. A white gown. Not his uniform. Not his world. The door opens softly, and Dr. Julia Ogden steps in, not in her usual corset and coat, but a plain medical dress, her face pale with exhaustion. She sits beside him, eyes tired but kind. "William," she whispers, "you're safe now. Safe?" His voice cracks, rough from disuse. Where am I?" She hesitates before answering. "You're at the Toronto Sanitarium. You've been here for several weeks." The words land like stones. "Weeks?" He repeats, disbelief coating his tongue. "No, I've been investigating. There was a murder. A woman in the snow." Julia shakes her head slowly. "There was no woman, William. No crime scene. No case." He stares at her, eyes wide. "That's impossible. I saw her. I had the evidence." "You had drawings?" she says gently. "Sketches of places that didn't exist. You spoke of clues no one else could find." Murdoch's breath quickens. His eyes dart across the room, searching for something, anything, to prove her wrong. But all he sees are blank walls. No maps, no notes, no clues, just emptiness. He looks back at her, trembling. "Julia, Did I lose my mind? Her voice breaks. You never lost it, William. It just turned inward. A silence settles between them. The ticking clock becomes unbearable. He turns his gaze toward the window. Snow drifts softly outside, white and endless, blurring the line between sky and ground, just as his mind blurred the line between truth and illusion. That night, alone in his room, Murdoch hears a faint knock. He turns, expecting Julia, but finds no one. Then, from the corner of his eye, he sees movement, a familiar figure standing by the window. The woman from the snow, her dress pale, her eyes calm. She smiles at him, almost kindly. You found me, she says. He stares, heart hammering. You're not real. She tilts her head. Aren't I? You made me real. You gave me a story. You needed me to exist. He closes his eyes, forcing reason to surface. You're a figment of my mind. A symptom. When he opens them again, she's gone. Only the snow remains, falling gently against the glass. The next morning, Julia visits once more. Murdoch sits upright, calm but distant. He tells her he's feeling better, that he understands what happened. But his eyes betray him. They're too clear, too knowing. I see now, he says softly, how the mind can twist reason into reality. I see how truth can disappear. Julia nods, relieved. That's progress, William, he smiles faintly, almost warmly. Yes, progress. But when she leaves, Murdoch slowly reaches under his pillow. His fingers close around a small, folded paper. He unfolds it, and there it is again, the photograph of the woman in the snow. The same haunting image. The same cold stare. He studies it for a long moment, then carefully hides it away. The faintest smile touches his lips, not madness, not joy, but something in between. A secret between a man and his creation. Later, as the lights dim for the night, Murdoch lies awake, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts drift like snowflakes, each one unique, fragile, and fading before it can land. The doctors say he's recovering, that he'll soon return to his duties. But deep down, he knows the truth. A part of him never left the case. A voice, soft as wind, whispers in the darkness. You solved it, William. You solved me. Murdoch's eyes close. A single tear escapes down his cheek. Maybe she was never real. Maybe she was the last mystery his mind created to keep itself from breaking completely as the screen fades to black. His final words echo faintly half-truth, half-confession. Perhaps sanity is just another illusion we learn to live with. Fade out. Soft piano music plays under the credits. Haunting and beautiful, an echo of a mind that solved every crime but couldn't save itself.